Yeah. it's interesting. It's good to learn new things every day. L'chaim l'bracha. This was just I guess starting to get warmed up. I'm not hearing at the Chodesh Kislev, but maybe it's the start of a start. L'chaim l'bracha. Rabbi Isaac Hamler, one of the big chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, used to Farbrengen on Yutas Kislev. Yutas Kislev for many years was the biggest yontif of chassidim. There was one day of the year was Yutas Kislev by chassidim. The liberation of the Alter Rebbe, and he used to Farbrengen on Yutas Kislev. It sounds like this was a regular speech that he would give. You know, today, if Mashpia and Magid will say the same thing that he said by another Farbrengen, and anyone was listening by both times, they're going to attack him. Yeah, you said that already. Then it wasn't like that. A chassid could say the same thing over and over. They were trying to get it into their bones, not to say a new bright idea. So he used to Farbreng. It looks like from the story, this was what he would Farbreng every Yutas Kislev. He would say, who is the beneficiary of Yutas Kislev? Who benefited from the liberation, from the Geula of the Alter Rebbe on Yutas Kislev? He said the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe, when he was in prison, he was in the best possible state. The Baal Shem Tov and the Magid, his Rebbes visited him there. And he spent time with the Baal Shem Tov and the Magid. He had almost kolois hanefesh from the enjoyment that he had of being able to have Mesiras Nefesh for the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. The Alter Rebbe wasn't missing anything. He had everything. He had Gashmias, he had Ruchnias, he had spiritual bliss. He said, what are you going to say? Maybe the Alter Rebbe wasn't able to fulfill all of the halachas because he was stuck in prison. He didn't have... No, he says, even the halacha that you have to wear new clothes for Shabbos, that also the Alter Rebbe was able to fulfill because he had a handkerchief with him, and every week he tied it on his garments in a different way, so that he had new clothing for Shabbos. He fulfilled the halacha. He wasn't even missing in fulfilling that halacha. By the way, the Rebbe on Rosh Hashanah, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Baal Tekeah, the one who's blowing shofar, is supposed to have a beged Chodesh. One of the times of the year. There was 2 times of the year. Most of the time, by the Rebbe, everything was hidden. The Rebbe did things like all you saw was simplicity. You didn't even see things that you saw by the other Rebbeim. Like 2 times in the year when you saw by the Rebbe, like shown through it was a Rosh Hashanah and a Pesach. 2 times a little bit. Rosh Hashanah by Tekiyas in general was when you saw a Rebbe Shehanhaga by the Rebbe. Second day of Rosh Hashanah specifically, then the Baal Tekeah supposed to wear a new clothes to take away the Shapi Halacha, take away the question of the Shachiyanu. And the Rebbe did that also with a handkerchief. He had a handkerchief from the Tzemach Tzedek, and he was doing spiritual things with the handkerchief and also taking care of the halachas of the new clothes. But Rabbi Isaac Hamler said the Alter Rebbe didn't have a problem of having a new clothes. For Shabbos, he had a handkerchief, and every Shabbos he was able to tie it on. So who gained from Yutas Kislev? He said to the Alter Rebbe, it didn't make any difference. The Alter Rebbe was maybe better off beforehand. Who gained? He said the Eibishter gained. Because as a result of Yutas Kislev, there was able to be Hafatzas Hamayanet, there was able to be the spreading of the wellsprings of Chassidus that furthers the Eibishter's goal in the world to make Adira B'Tachtenim, that the world should be a world that's full of revelation of godliness. He said in the words of the Pasuk, La Shama Yeshua. So the Eibishter is the one who had the Yeshua. And then he would start dancing for the remainder of the Farbrengen in honor of the La Shama Yeshua. That was Rabbi Isaac Hamler's Yutas Kislev Farbrengen. It sounds like a yearly thing. Now we know the same thing is with Yutas is with Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe many times identified it. The Rebbe chose the day of Rosh Chodesh Kislev to be the day of his Nes, of his Yeshua, because of the virtue of it being Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Because Kislev is Chodesh HaGeula. Kislev is the month of Pnimius HaTorah, the month of Pnimius, of Oyer. All the Yom Tevim and Kislev are connected with Pnimius HaTorah. The Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the head of that, contains the whole essence of Pnimis HaTeira. That was the fitting day that the Rebbe chose for himself to leave 770, the first time after Simchat Torah that year. On the Rosh Chodesh Kislev, when the Rebbe, we celebrate the Rebbe's health, who gained? Who are we celebrating? Who benefited from it? The beneficiary isn't the Rebbe. The Rebbe is taken care. The Rebbe is taken care of. Has his own needs always. Who's helped is the Eibishter, Lashem Yeshua. Who's helped specifically is us, Chassidim, that we're able to have a tangible, visible, accessible connection with the Eibishter. Lashem Yeshua. The Yeshua of Rosh Chodesh Kislev is that there's able to be godliness in the world, that there's all the years till today that the Rebbe's work continues to spread Chassidishkeit, spread Yiddishkeit, spread the Mayanis in the world. And therefore the Farbrengen of Rosh Chodesh Kislev has to have two parts. Number one, we have to tap into our hearts and our neshamas. We can't be dead people. We have to feel the appreciation for the nest that the Eibishter gave us on this day, that he gave us a Gesundte Rebbe. We have to appreciate the Yeshua that happened on this day. But it has to be translated. The Yeshua was that that Chassidim, and that the world should be able to be connected with godliness. And therefore the Farbrengen has to translate in the results, have to be channeled into the results. What was the objective? What was the outcome? What was the beneficiary? The beneficiary is that because of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe taught us so many more Mamorim, Sichas, and Farbrengen. We're able to be Chassidish Yidden. And the outcome of the Farbrengen, therefore, by every chassid has to be, what is the practical difference? What did I gain? How am I showing my appreciation and my excitement about Rosh Chodesh Kislev? Not just in celebrating the day, which has to be in feeling the happiness and feeling the joy and feeling the excitement and dancing on the table. But it has to be, how does it change me? How do I become the Lashema Yeshua that I have because of this appreciation of the connection with the Eibishter, that I got stronger and deeper and more pneumistic because of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. L'chaim l'bracha. This was the one. That's a one little cup, two big cups.
I think it's just
Ay
Chaim Lebracha. Chaim Lebracha. So now the Farbrengen is like kind of starting. The Gunim are still like very dead, but I see there's pictures of it, so it must be a reality now. There's cameras going around. So I want to tell you, you know, Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a story of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And there's a bunch of stories within the story. Today we don't know everything. It's printed and reprinted and reprinted. But each story is itself a lesson and a message and something to Farbrengen about and to focus on and to live with. And one of the stories within the story of Rosh Chodesh Kislev that I think encapsulates the whole Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the story of the Leil Simchas Torah after the after the Rebbe had the heart attack on Shmini Atzeres. And the night of Simchas Torah and Chassidim were like in a shock, in a fright, in a worry. They never had such a thing. And the night of Simchas Torah, the Rebbe sent down a message that the one thing that could contribute to his health is the simcha of Chassidim. That the Chassidim should rejoice, should be besimcha with the greatest extreme, with the greatest intensity. How is a chassid besimcha when he's so worried and so concerned about the situation of the Rebbe? Never, they just saw. But this is what the Rebbe said. Chassid, first and foremost, is a soldier, and he obeys, and he listens, and he follows orders and follows instructions. So that night, Chassidim danced with tremendous intensity, with tremendous joy in 770. They got a little bit help from some mashka. I don't think they had anything like this over there, but other kinds, whatever there is. They said a lot of l'chaim, and they danced with all of their might and all of their soul, because the Rebbe said that's what's gonna contribute to his health. And they knew this is what we have to do now. This is the tzav hashah. This is the command of the hour. So the story goes that the Chassidim were dancing, but what should they dance? What are they singing? What's the niggin? There's a niggin for every event, for every time, for every yontiv, every era. What's the niggin? They're singing because the Rebbe told them to sing. They don't feel Simchas Torah. They don't feel the V'samachta. They don't feel the Ala Sela Hachach. What should they sing? So they started singing this niggin. The whole 770 became like all spontaneously. They started singing the Rebbe soll sein gesund. With the tune of Zolshen sein de Gula, the Rebbe soll sein gesund, the Rebbe soll sein gesund. That was, they were singing and saying l'chaim and singing and dancing with their whole neshama. And gradually, the niggin evolved. From singing the Rebbe soll sein gesund, which is a wish, which is a prayer, which is a hope, which is a tefillah and tachnunim of Chassidim, it became, the words changed somehow by everyone. They changed to the Rebbe vet sein gesund. And suddenly, all the Chassidim were saying the Rebbe vet sein gesund. Instead of the Rebbe soll sein gesund, the Rebbe vet sein gesund. Because the Rebbe soll sein gesund leaves room. Who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. We're begging for it. We're davening for it. We're praying for it. The Rebbe vet sein gesund is, this is the reality. It's impossible to be otherwise. So that's like a higher level of Chassidim, right? It's a deeper emunah, it's a bigger expression of the neshama, of the certainty, of the emunah and bitachon of Chassidim. But then the niggin evolved the third time. From the singing and the dancing, the words changed the third time. They started singing the Rebbe is gesund, right? Everyone knows the story. The third time they started singing the Rebbe is gesund. Same tune, just the words changed. Instead of the Rebbe soll sein gesund, instead of the Rebbe vet sein gesund, they sang the Rebbe is gesund. The Rebbe is gesund. And they sang that with a tremendous shtura. And during this time when they were singing, and the Rebbe said he wants them to sing loud, and only the sound of their singing and the sound of their simcha and the sound of their joy is the only medicine for him. This is what the sang with their whole shtura. And the Rebbe at one point, so goes the story, the Rebbe at one point asked the doctor who were attending to him, in the middle of the night, Simchas Torah, Tavshin Lamed Ches. He said, what are the Chassidim singing? We hear sounds of singing, but what is the word? What are they singing? So the doctor said, I don't know which doctors or how they knew or they found out or whatever, but somehow they let the evidence that the words that the Chassidim, the whole 770, because it was united. It wasn't like, this guy singing this. This is what everyone was singing. And somehow everyone evolved from one to the other to the third one. That they're all singing the Rebbe is gesund. Not the Rebbe should be gesund, not even the Rebbe will be gesund. But the Rebbe is gesund. So the Rebbe was very happy with that. And he said, das is Chassidim. He said, that's Chassidim. That's where you see Chassidim. That's the essence of a Chassid, that a Chassid sees beyond whatever is external, saynistic things. The Rebbe is gesund, because it can't be otherwise. This is the story. This is one of the little stories within the story of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. But this story is the story about what our Rosh Chodesh Kislev is. Rosh Chodesh Kislev has two parts to it. So let me tell you a little bit of Avot. Speaking about it's an important thing to understand. If you go to different Rosh Chodesh Kislev Farbrengen throughout the world, so over here, so you guys I see are a little bit like low key. Yeah. But every yeshiva, one of the things Rosh Chodesh Kislev, they have to make a sign. Because a sign, all the Bachurim know what we're doing. They have to sign, Bachurim like signs. So a sign has to have, not just it has to have some slogan, right? So the slogan, I know in Toronto, that's like always Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and probably in many places, Zeh hayem asa havayin agila v'nismach habayis. It's a good pasuk, good fits for today, why not? On this pasuk, there's a maimer from the Rabbi. A Meridik Maimer. It's a Yud Beis Tammuz Maimer. The Maimer says, Omer Abacha, I forget. It says, Einanu Yedim B'malas Meach. The Rabbi brings the Fritz and we look at Gimel. The Rabbi says, Einanu Yedim, that the Medrash says, Einanu Yedim B'malas Meach im Bayim im Ba'akadosh Baruch Hu. It says, Nagila v'nismach habayis. Does it mean Hayom? The pasuk starts off, this is a day that the Eibishter made. Simcha b'Hayom. Or Asa Havaya, Hashem made a great miracle. Does Nismach habayis in him means in the Eibishter? In him in the day or in him in the Eibishter? So it sounds like a funny question. Right? Does it? I think so. So to understand the question, you have to learn this Maimer. And we look at Gimel, Yud Beis Tammuz, Zeh hayom asa havayin. Meridik Maimer. Whatever you're going to hear up a speech by a friend, it's not going to do justice. But I want to tell you a vart from the Maimer. I like Nekuda. There's Hayom and there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. In every Nes, there's the Nes itself. A Nes is Gili Alikus. A Nes is that godliness came down into the world and shattered the shells of Teva, of nature, and broke through and brought down the godliness that's above nature into the world. In every Nes, there's also the practical relevance of the Nes, the way a person relates with the Nes. How did it affect me? What did I learn from it? It's not, I'm translating a little bit, you have to learn the Maimer, you want to understand. I'm giving you some homework, right? Everyone has a little bit, you're not learning 24/7 Nigla and Chassidus, right? So you have time to learn another Maimer. Not going to hurt. But this is just to whet your appetite. Says the Rabbi, there's two things. There's the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's the Gili itself, and there's the Yom translates as the what do I take out of it? What does it mean to me? What does it say to me? In a Nes, the Nes of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's the Nes itself, there's the tremendous Gili that was beyond nature, and that was beyond the worries and the fears of Chassidim, that the Eibishter gave back a healthy Rebbe to Chassidim, and the Rebbe was more active than before, and tremendous Gilui. And there's the Yom. What does that mean to us? And what does that mean in each Chassid, in his life, in his Avodas Hashem, in his Machshava, Dibur U'Maisa, in his thought and speech and action, in his davening, in his learning? Very nice. That's things it's the Gili of the highest level of Elikos. What does it change in me? In the Yom, in the practical application of what does it mean to us, the Rebbe, someone once, there was once a group of students from London, Ontario, that came into the Rebbe Yechidus. And the Rebbe spoke to them many times. That groups of students were coming. The Rebbe spoke to them. And after the Rebbe spoke to them, so then they had an opportunity to ask questions. This would always be the Seder. This would be it. So they asked questions. What are their questions? Every time a group of students would go, philosophical questions. And so everyone has their questions, right? So one of the students had a question for the Rebbe, a very profound question. Yeah. He said to the Rabbi, what do you do for a living? Very nice. We come to you, talk to us, accept you, welcome. What do you do for a living? Question. So the Rebbe said to the student, he said, you know that in Niagara Falls, there was a lot of energy in the water and the currents. And near Niagara Falls, there's electric stations that take that energy from the water and they change it into electricity. And then the electricity goes from there, is brought to every city. And from every city, it's brought to every town, every neighborhood. And then it's brought to every block. And then till finally the electricity comes to every individual house. And that electricity is a tremendous, powerful thing, even after coming down from the Niagara Falls through so many. It's a tremendous, and that has the power to warm up and light up every house. The heat and the light come. But even after the wires, the electric wires come to the individual, the house is not going to be warm. Someone in the house has to turn on the switch. The Rabbi said the same exact thing is Beruchnis. There's like an electric company in the sky, which is power and energy that has the power to energize all the neshamas, Knesset Yisrael. And it comes down and goes to generations and to groups of Eden and to the Rosh, like we learn in Tanya, the different. Till it comes to every single Jew in his neshama, the wires bring that energy to him. It's the most powerful energy that he could use to bring himself warmth and light, to light up his neshama, warm up his neshama. That's a good. But after that energy is there, the Jew could still be going ahilchim b'cheshech. He could still be in the darkness because he has to turn a switch. I don't think the Rebbe explained to them what does it mean turning the switch in Beruchnis. Maybe we have to figure that out. He said, but the guy has to turn a switch. The Rebbe said, you want to know what I do for a living? I help people turn their switch. That's what I do for a living. And actually, in connection with this, there's another story. I heard there was a guy from Northern from San Francisco, I think, or somewhere in the Northern California, in the 60s, and he was in the East Coast in university, studying in university in the East Coast. So his family back north told him, "You're in the East Coast. You gotta take the opportunity and visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe. What could you do in the East Coast? What's there to see? What's there? Visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe." Good. So he got a Yechidus. And in the Yechidus, so the Rebbe says to him, "What are you doing here at the East Coast?" "Yeah, I'm in university." "What are you studying in university? What course? Which university? And what course?" And what all the details thereof. And he answers the Rebbe. The Rebbe takes it. And then the Rebbe, like, at the end of the questions, so the Rebbe comment offhand, and I also studied in university. And he says, "Really?" And now it reversed. He says, "Which university?" He says, "In Sorbonne." He says, what did you study?" He says, "Electrical engineering." The person's like, but at the end of all his questions, he says to the Rebbe, "So what are you doing here?" Someone who, I want to tell you a story. I'm a little bit too long with Rebbe. There was once a Rebbe, a church, one of the big Chassidish Rebbes, one of the Ruzhin dynasty Rebbes. And he passed away, and he left over 6 children. The older 3 of his children were already in a place. They had a Rebbe's, a Rebbistiver or something. The younger 3 didn't have anything yet, and the father passed away. And there was a certain town that was looking for a Rebbe, a leader. And they sent to the almana, to the widow of this Rebbe who passed away. And they said that maybe one of your sons, one of the 3 sons, could come and we'll give him a position. We're looking for something. So she goes to the first of her last 3 sons. Maybe one of you can come. He says, Mama. He says, Mother. He says, no, I'm not a Rebbe. He says, Mother, I know how to sing. I could be a chazan, and I'll make a good living being a chazan. It's not for me to be. I'm not a Rebbe. Goes to the second son, looking to set them up for that. Yeah. He says, Mama, he says, Mother, I'm not a Rebbe. Not me. He says, I know how to learn. I learned well. I'll be a Rav. I'll get a position for a Rabbanus. I'll pass Kinshailas. I'm not a Rebbe. I can learn. He says, I could learn. I learned. I'll be a Rav. She goes to the third son. I think it was the church of the Rebbe, my friend. Goes to the third son. He says, Mama. He says, Mother. He says, Ich kann nicht singen. Ich kann nicht lernen. Ich will sein a Rebbe. So he thought, this person thought, that a Rebbe guy can't do anything. So he says to them, well, what's that? You went to university, you got a degree, you took a lecture, engineer, whatever. What are you doing here? You don't fit the criteria yet. So the Rebbe said to him, I decided I'd rather light up Jewish neshamas than light up light bulbs. Oh, wow. So the Rebbe's Indian is to light up Jewish neshamas, to light up for us our lives. That's what your Chodesh Kislev is, that we have a Rebbe, that the Rebbe's Hayim, the Rebbe's relevance to us is that the Rebbe guides us and teaches us and transforms our own personal, internal darkness to light. How does that change over? So,
1988. 78.
Chaim u'bracha.
Just suck the table for you.
So before we come back to the story of Lil Simchas Torah 770 and the three nigunim and the three versions and the three wordings, let's understand a little more. What does this mean that the Rebbe's inyan is to make for us warm and light? That's cliches. What does it mean, warm and light? What does it mean that the Rebbe says that he'd rather light up Jewish neshamas? What does that mean? So without getting into any lengthy speeches about it, I want to first tell you a little story. There was a chassid in Montreal. His name was Heschel Tzeitlin. He was a very chassidish Yid. That's what they say. I didn't know him. I know his descendants. And all those who knew him say that his specialty, his koch, his focus, more than anything else, was emes. In fact, now they made a sefer about him and his father, him and his brother. It's one of the svarim about Chassidim they make. And the sefer about him is called that Anshe Emes or something. He was known, he was recognized by those who knew him for his koch and his commitment to Emes. Emes, that was his thing. We'll soon discuss. First of all, I want to tell you a little anecdote about him before I say the story that I want to say. So I heard the story from someone who knew him, and his family members say they never heard this story. So but I'm telling you the story that I heard. I told it to them also. The Rebbe many times kocht sich that you have to own a house. You have to buy a house. The Rebbe was against renting and for owning. Right? Everyone here owns a house, right? Sure. Yeah. Right? You guys own houses? I have what?
If you live in New York,
My Bachurim and my yeshiva, they all own houses. I listen to them talking on Friday. This is my building. I have two buildings, and this one has four buildings. They're all big real estate magnates.
I hope you charge a lot of tuition.
But the Rebbe was very for owning houses. Yeah. Own a house, own rent, own a lot of stories. There's many times that the Rebbe focused on this. So Heschel Tzeitlin, one of the times the Rebbe spoke very strongly. You have to own, you have to buy a house, and he had the means to buy a house. The problem was to buy a house. So most people don't have the means to just go pay the money to buy. You put a little bit of money down and you get a mortgage, right? And he was able to buy a house with a mortgage. And the Rebbe is so for buying a house, so he could buy a house and get a mortgage. The problem was to get a mortgage, you have to go into the bank and you have to have a bank account and have a checking account. That's part of the basics, the olive base of a mortgage. Heschel Tzeitlin didn't have a bank account. Why didn't he have a bank account? Because he never stepped into a bank in his life. To him, a bank symbolized Avodah Zarah, evil, Tiferes Elam Haza. It's against everything that he stood for. He couldn't walk into such a place. It's like walking into a church. He never walked into. He didn't step into a bank. Yeah, we're not talking about someone who lived there 1,000 years ago. We're talking about someone who passed away 25 years ago. He never walked into a bank, and the Rebbe says to own a house. So he didn't know what to do, so finally he decided to write into the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe. And I can never find out exactly what the Rebbe answered him, but I know that he ended up owning a house. But so this Heschel Zeitlin, once the night of Simchas Torah, or the day of Simchas Torah, whatever was exactly the story, and he had a young son. His son was Aaron Laser, Olav Hashalom, who passed away a few years ago. He had his young son with him, and you know what Chassidim do on Simchas Torah? What? Yeah, correct, but not everyone does. But what do Chassidim do on Simchas Torah? Chassidim do two things. Yeah, they eat potato kugel and they say l'chaim. And those who don't eat potato kugel, at least they say l'chaim. So they said l'chaim, he said l'chaim, he said a lot of l'chaim. And after he said l'chaim, he took his son and he went to the Rebbe's room. The Rebbe's room, usually there's the secretaries there, there's people there. It's not open, it's not just, you can't just walk over. But Heschel Zeitlin was a renowned person. The people who were in charge, the secretaries, whoever, they didn't want to start up. They said, you know what, let him deal with between him and the Rebbe, we're not getting in the way. He went and he started knocking on the Rebbe's door. So just Torah, in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, whatever. He started knocking on the door. And the Rebbe opened the door and he stood there and he was crying. And the Rebbe said, what do you want? He said, I want the Rebbe to give me a bracha that I should have a shaychus mit a bitzel emes. He's crying, begging the Rebbe, this after a while. Wants a bitzel emes. Emes was his thing. And the Rebbe looked at him, the Rebbe gave him a big smile. And the Rebbe said, Farvas a bitzel emes. And the Rebbe made with his hands, Asach emes. I closed the door. And he just started to cry even harder. A chassid, our life is about emes. What's emes? Emes is that the whole world is one big structure of falsehood. And the emes is emes havaya la'elam. The emes is that everything is godliness. And anything that seems to be not godliness is false. Bibi Netanyahu, who today is a big celebrity, right? Everyone talks about him. Not always good the way he talks about it, right? Anyways, but he went to the Rebbe throughout all along his whole career. He was connected with the Rebbe as a tremendous chus. In fact, in the very beginning of his career in politics, so this is the story I wanted to tell you. There's another story. At the very beginning of his career, he came to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe gave him instructions. I don't remember what, that he has to stand strong and he has to not be misspelled, not pay attention to everyone else, and stand up for the truth. He was a young guy then. He said to the Rebbe, this was in the Mem, yeah? 35 years ago. He was a beginner. The Rebbe was then 80 almost. He says to the Rebbe, Ani rak matchil baderech. I'm just starting out. The Rebbe was making big demands. He said, I'm just starting out. The Rebbe said to him, Ani gam matchil baderech. He said, I'm also just starting out. So he was by the Rebbe. The Rebbe told him about the United Nations. It's all just one pack of lies. The world is false. The world is not emes. And when we learn Chassidus, that's the only way we're able to come to recognize that there's a emes, that there's a truth, that there's a reality, that the reality is Eibishter, that the reality is Eined Muvada. Not Eined Muvada that you learn it in a sefer and you say it in a speech, and then we come down to eat the schnitzel. The schnitzel becomes our reality. Eined Muvada that the reality is always a likus. The Rebbe said his inyan is to make light. To illuminate Jewish. What does it mean to illuminate? To take away that darkness, to take away that falseness, to allow us to relate with that emes, to see that emes, to sense that emes, to live with that emes. You with me or not? So now, in the night of Simchas Torah, that year, they sang 3 nigunim. These 3 nigunim convey the life of a chassid. We start off, the Rebbe's Zol Zayin Gesund. The Rebbe's inyan is the recognition of emes. The Rebbe's inyan is the Rebbe's purpose, the Rebbe's goal, the Rebbe's self-stated objective is that every single person, every single Jew, and for sure, every single chassid should see beyond the superficial falsehood and see the truth, and live with emes. And living with them is there's 3 stages. The first stage is the Rebbe's Alzheimer's. The Rebbe's Metzias is emes. The first stage is that we see our reality is the world. We wish for emes. We hope for emes. We say anima. When you go on Mivtzorim, so you tell a person, an old lady in an apartment building, that you tell her, oh, Mashiach's going to come. She says, oh, man, alavai. They wish for it. But this is not the reality that we live in. The second stage is the Rebbe vet sein gesund. It's not a wish, it's a certainty that at some level, that emes, that havaya, that godliness, that eined movade is true. It's certainty. But it's not here in our world, it's somewhere else. Vet sein gesund, it's going to be. It's there somewhere. At some level, it's more powerful than the world that we live in. But it's not here, it's somewhere, it's vet sein gesund. And then they came and they said the Rebbe is gesund. What I see in front of my eyes, that's nonsense. That's meaningless. That's inconsequential. The Rebbe is gesund. The emes, the truth, what I live with is what I know, what Torah, what reality, godliness is true. The Rebbe is here to connect, make the bridge between godliness and the world. That's emes. And therefore the Rebbe is gesund. What we see in our eyes, that's irrelevant. That makes no difference. The Rebbe is here that we should be the third stage. That we shouldn't be confused and misled by what we see. We should live with emes. Where do you find that emes? In a Maimer Chassidus. In avodah, working on yourself, in davening, in living like a chassid, drawing out your neshama, in living with what the Rebbe teaches us and guides us. The Rebbe is gesund. Amen. The Rebbe heard that version. The Rebbe said, "Das is chassid." Not just the emunah and bitachon. That's what the Rebbe is here for. That we should see beyond superficialities, see beyond chitzenius, see beyond falsehood, see beyond world, elamis. See that the truth is the emes of Ayilayla. L'chaim l'bracha. The Rebbe is gesund. The Rebbe is gesund. The Rebbe is gesund.
says there's 9. Put a comment on it, right?
Chaim u'bracha. Chaim I want to share with you a story that I just heard this week. I heard it on Sunday, the day of the Kinnis HaShluchim. Someone came to my house. And I heard from him a story. This person is a Hungarian chassid. And he tells me that his father was the Rav in Salish. Salish is a city in Hungary. The Rebbe's father, Rabbi Baruch, the Alter Rebbe's father, Rabbi Baruch, at one point he moved away from the Alter Rebbe. The story goes that he didn't want to be near the Alter Rebbe because he didn't want the Alter Rebbe to show him honor, because he saw the greatness of the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe wouldn't let him show the Alter Rebbe honor. So he moved away. He moved to Hungary, and he lived in Salish. He was a melamed there. He taught children, and he lived out his life there. And he passed away in Salish, and he was buried in Salish. So this person tells me his father was a Rav in Salish before the war, the Salish Rav. And he visited Salish a number of times because his family, his ancestors are buried there. Kivrei this person, the one who told me this story. And he tells me like this: one year, he went to the Rebbe to get $1 and a bracha. The years when the Rebbe was giving out dollars every Sunday, and he wanted to also chapara and get $1. Yeah, $3. He comes to 770 Sunday, and he sees there's a huge line, men, women, children, a huge line outside of 770. He thinks to himself, it'll take hours this line. I'll be here for hours. So he says, in the meantime, it's like a line of hours. In the meantime, I want to see 770. He was never in 770 before. His first time there. He walks around the building to see this. See 770. I suspect that he was walking around the building to try to find a side entrance. That was his intention to begin with. But he didn't say that. But he was walking around the building, and he sees by a side door there's a Bachurim standing by the door. He says to the Bachurim, "What are you doing here? What are you standing here?" So the Bachurim says, "I'm here. This is a side door. It comes important rabbis, important dignitaries, important chashuv rabbanim. So they don't have to wait in line. They come in from this door. And I'm standing here. That only those who are meant to come in should come in." He hears that. He says, "Oh, it's for chashuv rabbanim. I'm a chashuv rav. I'm the Salish Rav from Yerushalayim." He thought he's coming straight in. The Bachurim says, "Wait over here." He wanted to go ask Rabbi Groner. He goes inside, he asks Rabbi Groner, and he comes out, and he says, "Yeah, come inside." Rabbi Groner said to let him inside. He came inside, and Rabbi Groner said to him, "Stand here," shows him where to stand. He said, "In 20 minutes, the Rebbe is going to come out, and the Rebbe is going to start giving out dollars." He says, "You are going to be able to see the Rebbe walk out of his room. You're going to be the first person in line to get $1." That Sunday, he was the first person. fine. He waited there, and sure enough, after 20 minutes, the Rebbe came out of his room. This wasn't the story I wanted to tell you, but I'll finish the story. I meant to tell you a different story. Well, let me finish the story. The Rebbe came out of his room, and the Rebbe and Rabbi Groner says to the Rebbe, "This is the Selish Shirah from Yerushalayim." Selish is very close connected to Lubavitch because the Alter Rebbe's father is there. So the Rebbe says to him, "Did you ever visit there? Were you ever in Selish?" Today, every person says he's this and this Rav. Doesn't even know where to find it on a map. He says to the Rebbe, "Yeah, I was there many times. I visited my ancestors." What?
It's on the border between Hungary and Ukraine.
Yeah, okay. You see, you know where it is on the map. I wouldn't know where it is on the map. So the Rebbe says to him, I have a question for you. He says, many people are writing and claiming that Alter Rebbe's father's name was Yisrael Baruch. The Rebbe says to him, did you ever see him at Seif? And he says, the Rebbe says to him, our Kabbalah is that it's Baruch. That Alter Rebbe's father. So maybe you were there once, you saw him at Seif, So he tells me, this guy tells me, he says, I didn't want to answer the Rebbe from a dimion, from a thing, maybe he was never there, I don't know, but he says, I didn't want to answer, so I said to the Rebbe, I'm going to go there, I'm going to check, and I'm going to come back and tell the Rebbe. Because he went there, and he saw all kinds of titles, and it says, Baruch, plain Baruch. So he comes back to the Rebbe, he says, it's Baruch, plain Baruch. So the Rebbe said to him, thank you very much for the shlichus that you did. That's the story that he said, which I have a difficulty with, but I didn't mean to tell you, so I want to tell you another story. So another guy came to me on Motzei Shabbos, this was on Sunday, this Motzei Shabbos, this passed a few days ago, this is a brand new story I heard. This person who came to me was a son-in-law of a big Rav in Eretz Yisrael. He's learning in a Kelo from another big Rav whose name is Ransdorfer. His Rosh Kelo was the son of a big member of the Eidei Charedes from the big place in Eretz Yisrael, Rav Meir Ransdorfer, a big Rav. And he heard the story from his Rosh Kelo, and he tells me the story. This guy who came to my house on Motzei Shabbos. He says, there was a couple, and this Rav Meir Ransdorfer, this Rav in Eretz Yisrael, every Rav has a specialty. Yeah? One Rav has a specialty in potato cooking. This Rav, his specialty was brisim. He's a moyo, and his specialty is if there's a shayla in a bris, that's a specialty. This Rav Meir, that was a specialty 10 years ago. Once a couple came to him with their child, with a little boy, and they said they have a question. They wanted to check his bris to make sure it's a kosher bris. He checks the bris. He says no, it wasn't done right. He has to correct it. So it turned out that the moil of this couple, their child's moil was a relative. It was just a beginner. He was just learning, and he did a favor to them to save them. You had a favor? You did a good job. So they had to correct it. But this Rav Meir Ransdorfer was very shocked. He says, how did you know to ask? If something like that is done wrong, dude, it's very unlikely the person will ever know. Unless someone sees the big fan, I don't know. Yeah, really, it's a terrible thing for such a thing to happen. A person could go through his life, not be Gemalin. But how did you know to ask? And now it could be correct. He says, what gave you the sense to ask? They said this baby was born and he never had a good day in his life. He had infections, he had this infection, that infection, all over. He went to doctors, went to specialists. He's never healthy. What's wrong with this baby? And no doctors knew what to tell us. Never healthy. And they started going to Rabbanim, rabbis, the Rebbes, everything. He went to one Rav who was a Lubavitcher Rav. A Rav? The Lubavitcher Rav tells them, write a letter to the Rebbe and we're going to put it into the Igris. If they have a problem, I don't know what to say. They wrote a letter to the Rebbe, they put it into the Rebbe's Igris. They opened up the Igris to a letter where the Rebbe wrote about tzitzin hama'akfin asamila. So you do a bris and it's not completed, then the Gemara says, no, you have to come back, you have to redo it. You have to, a letter about that. He says to them, this is your answer, something's wrong. You have to check out his bris. He says to them, there's a Rav, Rabbi Meir Brandsdover in Yerushalayim, who's an expert in this, go consult with him. So they said, that's how we knew to consult with you. And in fact, so he found a problem, they corrected the problem, and the child became healthy, and he never had any problem. And this Rabbi Meir Brandsdover was a Polish, a Rav, a Rav of the Eidich Haredis in Yerushalayim, who was the spell. He saw the Rebbe gave him an answer in Igris, and this corrected his problem, a problem in his bris, with one son. So what's the lesson of the story? The lesson of the story is that we should say a little l'chaim, start from there. L'chaim Obrach.
Man. Blue brown. No, brown.
Ah, ya da da, ya da da, ya da da, ya da da, ya da da. So before I get back to the lesson of the last story, I want to tell you another ha'ara b'derech Havsha. There was a wagon once with 3 tzaddikim who later became, one of them was the Chodesh Yarim, and the other two I don't remember, but there was 3 famous big tzaddikim who later on became leaders of the whole Klal Yisrael. And they were in a wagon once, and their wagon driver got drunk. Probably he was carrying some tzaddikim, he just became drunk. And he became drunk, he lost control of the wagon, and the wagon started careening, and it was going down a hill, and the 3 tzaddikim were in grave danger because it was... And there was another wagon driver nearby, and he saw what's happening, and he saw their lives are in danger, and he risked himself, he jumped onto the wagon, and he got control of the reins, and he saved their lives. Many years later, these 3 tzaddikim were sitting together. They were tzaddikim. They were on the Lubavitcher tzaddikim, they were genuine tzaddikim. And they reminded themselves of this story. They were talking together, reminded themselves of this story. They said, let's see what happened to this coachman who saved their lives. Where is he today? Okay. So if we want to know, well, go on Google. We'll Google him. Yeah. Either we'll find him or we don't find him. Then tzaddikim, they have their own Google. They found that he had passed away, and he went to L'mayla. And when he went to L'mayla, so he was a simple wagon driver, didn't keep all the mitzvahs, didn't learn Torah. They made his judgment, and it wasn't looking too good for him. But then they saw that he saved the lives of 3 tzaddikim who would turn out to be leaders of Yidden. 3 tzaddikim had there. Hamatzel, someone who saves one neshama is kilo hitzel eila molei, like saving the whole world, and especially tzaddikim like that. He said he's going straight into Gan Eden. But the problem is, what's Gan Eden? What's Gan Eden, by the way? Anyone knows what Gan Eden is? What?
Appreciating the car that you know.
Learning Torah, yeah. So someone who never learned Torah in his life, he doesn't know what to do with Gan Eden. They couldn't put him in Gan Eden. What's he going to do there? Yeah. There's a psavart, they say, that Gan Eden and Gehenna, it's not 2 different places, Gan Eden and Gehenna. It's one place. It's a big base medrash where they sit and they learn and they daven. For the tzaddikim it's Gan Eden, for the Sham it's Gehenna. so this person, at any rate, he didn't have what to do. He didn't have tools for Gan Eden. He deserved Gan Eden. He earned Gan Eden, but he didn't have the tools for Gan Eden. What's he going to take it with? He never learned it. So they had to make for him a new Gan Eden. They gave him a Olam Hadimi, the world of imagination. He was a balagoli, he was a wagon driver. His appreciation extended to wagon driving. So they let him feel as if he's driving a wagon, his neshama after, but as if he imagined himself driving a wagon that was the strongest wagon, with the strongest horses, with the straightest road without any potholes, that goes on, and this was forever and ever, because this was his Gan Eden. He couldn't go beyond that. Just having good horses and a good wagon, because he had. So the tzaddikim who were looking for him, this is where they found him. This is what they found him. So they said they owe him a favor. They found a way to elevate him from that into the lowest level of the real, of a genuine Gan Eden. Because what's that's the story. I wanted to give you one ha'ara b'derech Hashem, I told you. A chassid has to serve the Eibishter, has to daven, has to learn. But a chassid is really, we have Gan Eden. We're able to experience the biggest bliss. Chassidim, they don't understand, we have to do it. This is our biggest enjoyment. It says that Yitzchak, Sichas, and this week's Pasha, the Rebbe brings Yitzchak after the Akedah. There's 2 years, if you make the calculations, there's 2 years that are missing from his life, from his years. It doesn't add up the math. He was 2 years in Gan Eden, wasn't part of it. He had Mesiras Nefesh and he was in Gan Eden. A chassid, his life has the experience of Gan Eden. part of the experience of Gan Eden is Chassidische Farbrengen, Chassidim have Mesiras Nefesh for Chassidische Farbrengen. But in order to experience Gan Eden, so there's like tools, certain tools, like technical tools, just like that. And one of the tools is a Farbrengen you take with Chassidische Negunim. So you have to have good tools. The better the tools, the better is your means of experiencing the Gan Eden. So my ha'ara is, I see, maybe you guys should let's put aside some time every week. You gotta learn Negunim. Take, I don't know if you have it.
We just started it.
Take, what?
We just started this.
Great, excellent, Baruch Hashem.
Which school's that?
No, don't just wait till Farbrengen and then try to have trial and error. It's also good. Everything is good. That's a tool. The more you learn it, the more you know it. That's something. It's a tool that you have for life that gives you a better, a stronger, more pneumistic, rich connection with Holocaust, with godliness, with everything. Anyway, so the lesson of the story with the Hungarian. Now we're back to the Hungarian.
That's so special.
What is a bris? You know what a bris is? What?
I'm asking.
Yeah, you know or not?
I know, I guess, I hope.
What's a bris? I'll tell you what a bris is. A bris is a person, our neshama, a Jew's neshama is connected with the Eibishter. That's what a bris is. Being a bris is a bomb. You're connected with the Eibishter beyond anything. But we don't always feel that connection. I see from the corner of my eye, I see my brother has to fight with Bachurim, they should come to Farbrengen. It means sometimes they're not feeling the connection, they're being drawn over here, they're being drawn over there, they're being pulled all over the place. Where does that come from? Why don't they feel the connection? The bris is there because there's something called an orla. A orla, what's an orla? A orla is when we indulge in worldly pleasures. When we allow ourselves to associate ourselves with Tiferes Elam Hazeh. You know what Tiferes Elam Hazeh is? This, maybe, I don't know. Tiferes Elam Hazeh, then it covers, it becomes a shell. It covers over that bris, that inherent, unbreakable bond that be'etzem, that in essence every Jew has with David. Chassidus says the bris is to take away that armor. Don't be immersed in Tiferes Elam Hazeh and enjoyments of the world and pleasures of the world. Cut yourself off of it so that you could be immersed in Holocaust, so that you could enjoy Holocaust. You get up every day and you daven. The biggest pleasure of a Jew is to daven. But how many of us feel davening like a burden? You don't have to answer, but how many of us feel davening like a burden? We're waiting, when is it going to be over? When can we go to breakfast? Or to yeah. Why do we feel davening like a burden? Because we're missing in our bris. Because it says, Chassidus brings a line, an amazing line from the Chavis Halvavis, from Rabbi Parasha, the name of the Chavis Halvavis. He said, "Kishem shelo yishkenu yachad ha'eish v'hamayim." Just like fire and water cannot coexist, kach lo yishkenu b'leivechad ha'ava l'likus v'hava l'dvarim gashmi. So too, you can't love the Eibishter and love sushi, pizza. You can't. It doesn't go. They can't coexist. It's fire and water. Says the Alter Rebbe, there has to be a bris. You have to remove the orla. You have to remove the koch in Elam Hazeh, the enjoyment, the running after the pleasures of the world. sometimes we do a bris. We're chassidim, yeah. We're here. We're in yeshiva. We learn. We daven. We're our whole focus. Our whole life is defined about Eibishter. But there's tzitzin and ma'afin and samila. We leave over little strips of our love. We leave over for ourselves little strips of Elam Hazah. That's what this family, this couple got an answer in the Iglis. There's the bris and it wasn't done properly. You cut it, but you left something for yourself. To be for the Eibishter means that there's nothing left over, that it's nishefet. Pinchas Reizes was a chassid of Dal Rebbe. One of the big chassidim of Dal Rebbe. The biggest manichim, the quarters of Dal Rebbe. Pinchas Reizes. From the Mekusharim of Dal Rebbe, many stories of Pinchas Reizes. I want to tell you one story before I say the story I wanted to say. Just because. I'm going to tell you a story. Pinchas Reizes was very wealthy. That's the whole story of the beginning of his connection with Alter Rebbe. Tremendous wealth. Alter Rebbe blessed him then with wealth. That was me. Pinchas Reizes was very wealthy. Being wealthy, so he had a big, fancy house. It was called then a Beis Chayma. What's a Beis Chayma? I don't know what it means, but then that was then a fancy house. Today in Toronto we have houses called monster houses. I guess that Beis Chayma then was the equivalent of a monster house today. Pinchas Reizes had a Beis Chayma. He was the wealthiest person. He was Pinchas Reizes. He had a base. Of course, he's going to live in a shack. Pinchas Reizes. Once he was by the Alter Rebbe, and Alter Rebbe said to him, Pinchas, we come to Haich a Beis Chayma. He said, what are you doing with a Beis Chayma? You're a Chassidish Yid. You should live in a... What are you doing with a Beis Chayma? The Alter Rebbe called him to task. What are you doing with a fast? You could afford... How do you come to terms? So what did he answer Alter Rebbe? He said to the Alter Rebbe, you're listening superficially. You're not saying l'chaim. He said to the Alter Rebbe, listen to this, listen carefully, listen with your neshama. He said to the Alter Rebbe, Rebbe, he said, Gloib mir, he said, believe me, as many bricks as there are in my house, a Beis Chayma was a brick house, I think, that as many bricks as there are in my house, that's how many tears I cried. How come Pinchas has a... As many bricks, that's how many tears that's how many tears I cried. We come to Pinchas a Beis Chayma. He said, but, he said, if Pinchas has a Beis Chayma, so when there's a meeting in town, from the movers and the shakers in the town, where do they make the meeting? In Pinchas' house, because Pinchas has a Beis Chayma. And if the meeting is in Pinchas' house, that's what he said to the Alter Rebbe, then Pinchas has a deya. Then Pinchas has a say in the meeting. And if Pinchas has a say in the meeting, then Pinchas could do a teva for a poor Chassidish Malamed. Because he has a say in the meeting. Alter Rebbe said, Rabbi, and if I should get rid of it, I'll get rid of it the second. He saved himself so many tears. And he cried. So Alter Rebbe said to him, keep it. Because he had a Beis Chayma, had a monster house, a mansion. He didn't have a mansion because he wanted a mansion. The mansion hurt him. It was painful to him. But it helped the Eibishter's kavanah. The Prussian, before Chassidus, the Prussian lived in deprivation. The Rebbe Rashab was once in Vienna. I think I may be getting sidetracked. It doesn't matter. Probably you're listening also, you're getting sidetracked. Let me tell you one more thing. We'll say a little Chaim, we'll sing a niggun, and we'll get back on track. The Rebbe Rashab was once in Vienna with the Friedrich Rebbe. In Vienna, there was a parish. You know what a parish is? It's a parish.
Someone that's
like self-centered in terms of study of Torah. Like he's developing himself in study of Torah as some study relating with others.
So he completely is detached from the world. I think what's the word? There's a word. Aesthetic. What's the word? Aesthetic? Aesthetic. That was Farbrengen. If I'll say the word, whichever way, I'll take a guess, because then I can. Don't think, I said it time for years. Maybe I said the wrong way. Maybe I said the right way. Nobody cares. Okay.
The Polish. It's the same as this.
What? You guys don't know English?
What? Parish?
Parish.
Yeah. Hungarian.
What's the English word for a parish?
Aristocrat.
That's a parish.
Pirates.
A parish. A parish. A parish. The Prussian lived in a little loch, a hole in the wall.
Hobbit.
The Pharisee.
An aesthetic is a more
A recluse. It's a recluse. Recluse.
So listen to the story. In Vienna there was a parish who had lived 40 years as a parish. And when the Rebbe Rashab came to Vienna, he expressed the interest to see where the parish lived. Chassidus rejected the mindset of the Prussian, the lifestyle of the Prussian, right? Even the stories that sometimes are not positive about the Prussian, it's the Baal Shem Tov's time. But listen to the story. He wanted to see the place. They took it, the Friedrich Rebbe arranged it. He heard his father express the interest in Friedrich Rebbe. So he took the Rebbe Rashab, and he went to the outside of the city. There was a room within the room that was Zion al Zion. It was a few feet by a few feet. In the room there was a piece of wood that he sat on. There was another piece of wood that he used as a table. There was a hole in the wall where they would pass him in food from. And he sat in that room 40 years. That's where he lived his life, removed from the world. The Rebbe Rashab went into the room. The Friedrich Rebbe arranged it should be open for him. It was kept locked up. And he went into the room and he looked at the little tiny room with the two cloths, the two pieces of wood. The Rebbe Rashab looked at it and he said, "Ogilep de Levin v'Amensh." The Rebbe Rashab said, "This person lived his life like a mensch. He wasn't into the world." Chassidus takes us beyond that. Says, no, go engage with the world, transform the world. But it starts with, you're not running, you're not dependent on the world. I lost my train of thought. L'chaim u'bracha. Ya da 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 ya ya da 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 ya ya.
Farbrengen though, it's not like the part of the meal, it's like a Farbrengen. When it's dessert, it's kind of expected that they would ask Rabbi. I know what
Chaim Obraham. The point is that Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a day that we have to be happy and celebrate that the Eibishter made a nest and gave us the Rebbe. And we have to analyze, what am I changing in my life because of what the Rebbe teaches me. The Rebbe teaches us to make that bris. You have to see the world for what it is. The world is just a vehicle, it's a tool to connect us with the Eibishter. I want to tell you a brand new story that I heard Wednesday night. Last night I heard a story. What?
You would keep paying last week, you would not hear all these stories.
Right.
You know the joke with the Mashiach, when Mashiach comes and goes through the yeshiva.
Someone came to my house last night, and this person is a Einikol of Rabbi Naftali Rabshitzer. The Rabshitzer Einikol of the Rabshitzer. And he actually told me a bunch of stories, this guy. Wasn't happy with them. But he told me a bunch of, but in his last story that he told me, I want to share with you. Just heard this last night. Maybe. His name is Reuben, and he's a Reb Shitzer Einikol of a Rebbe. His father's name was Shmuel Reuben. His father was connected with Lubavitch. He was a Reb Shitzer, he was a Pilish Chassid, but he was a musician, he was a composer, or a musician or something. And he worked for Lubavitch and Meisters. He taught music to the students, so he had an involvement with Lubavitch. So the son tells me, he says, just before, he was in Eretz Yisrael. They lived in Eretz Yisrael. He was in Tel Aviv, in Lud, I think. They lived over there. Rabbi Gurevich was the son of Rabbi the Masmid. And he comes into the shul there. The shul, a bunch of big chassidim, older chassidim were members of that shul. And Rabbi Gurevich, this chassid calls him over. He sees this Polish with his Vaisazakin. And he says, "What are you? He asks him who he is. He says, "You're a Reb Shitzer Einikol." He says to him, "You're Reb Shitzer." The Reb Shitzer Rebbe's sefer is Zera Kodesh. Zera Kodesh. The Reb Shitzer. So this chassid says, "Should I tell you the Zera Kodesh from this week?" And he starts rattling off the Zera Kodesh. He says, "You want me to tell you Neyam Elimelech? I'll tell you the name Elimelech also." And he's all startled. So he says back to the chassid, "Should I tell you Likutei Torah?" And he tells him a word from Likutei Torah. So the chassid says, "We come to Eich Likutei Torah." He says, "Wie kommt zu euch zer Kodesh?" So he tells him, his father was connected with Lubavitch, so he ended up having. This is the background a little bit of the background. So the story, he says his father was teaching in the Lubavitch schools, teaching music. Shmuel Chefer in Eretz Yisrael, who runs the schools, Shmuel Chefer calls him, says he was teaching twice a week, 3 times, or whatever. But I want you to start giving a class in the girls' schools. Music class, I want to some girls. Girls' schools. Father was a Kislev Shahid, he tells me that. Girls, no way. Not for me. Hey, what do you mean? Yeah, we need you now. Back and forth. Shmuel Chefer tells him, listen, you're working for us. We need this job also. We need one person to do everything. He like hinted to him, you're going to lose your other jobs. But he didn't want to do it, so he's torn. He's very torn. He decides he's going to ask the Rebbe. He had a chasna in America around that. He's going to get a yechidus and ask the Rebbe. He wasn't a Lubavitch. The Rebbe should say, he went to all the Rebbes, but he's going to have to go. I guess he figured if the Rebbe tells him not to do it, so then they're going to have to back off because it's their Rebbe. Whatever the reason is, he went into yechidus. This is what the guy tells me. The son is telling me the story. Because he went into yechidus. And he writes his whole question to the Rebbe that he wanted to teach. He doesn't want to teach him. So the Rebbe says to him, what's the problem? You're worried about yichud? For sure, the Rabbanim will set it up in a way that there's no halacha shayla of yichud. There's no halacha shayla. There's ways to make that there shouldn't be a problem of yichud. So he didn't say anything. He was uncomfortable. Like the Rabbanim will say, it didn't set his mind at ease. So the Rebbe said to him, "You're worried about Gidrei Kedusha." You know what Gidrei Kedusha means? What? Boundaries of Kedusha. Kedusha means it's not enough that you satisfied yourself, that you fulfilled halacha purely, completely, perfectly. A chassid wants to be holy, wants to be better than halacha. He wants to be beyond fulfilling his dues. The Rebbe said to him, "You're worried. I see. You're worried about Gidrei Kedusha. You don't want to do it because you want to be holy. You don't want to speak to girls, even if it's halachically permissible. That's what's expected of a chassid." The Rebbe said, "Is it Gidrei Kedusha?" The son told me his father couldn't answer, but he nodded his head. So he said, if I understood him correctly, so the Rebbe put his hand on the table on top of the guy's hand. His name was Shmuel. He said, "Reb Shmuel, as ihr vertraten an neshama vet azayin ayer, you'll save a neshama, because you're doing this that's needed. It's yours. That's your neshama. You saved a neshama." Those were the words the Rabbi used. As if it rativ in a neshama vet azayin ayer. Ich sag euch zu, se vet echt neshaten. Said, I promise you, it's not going to hurt you. Not going to take away from your condition. Obviously, he went and he took the job. He did it. The guy who's telling me the story, the son, tells me years later, he got married. His shver of his first wife, now he's married to another, his wife passed away that way. His shver of his first wife was someone who became Miskarim to Lubavitch, became a Lubavitcher. That's part of his connection with Lubavitch. He was in Crown Heights once with his wife. With his wife after he got married. And someone came over to his wife. I guess another lady, I guess. And she's, "Oh, I didn't see you in 20 years. They're talking. I got married. Who did you get married to?" A guy from Israel, Reuben. Reuben? See the son of Shmuel Reuben, he saved my life. Those were her words, he saved my life. The Rabbi said, you'll save a life at the Zayin Ayir, and then years later he hears from the person who says, he saved my life. He says he doesn't know if there was anyone else, others. But one person he heard that he saved a life, and the Rabbi told him, do it, you'll save a life. The Prushim got Kedusha. Kedusha says in Chassidus is Chodesh Moved. They separated themselves from the world. Everyone has to have Kedusha. Our foundation has to be Kedusha. Our foundation has to be the taking away the Arla, being detached from the world, giving up on the pleasures of Elam Hazeh for the sake of pleasures of Elam Hazeh. And then, but we go beyond that. The Rebbe tells us, no, now go save the world. Not because you want the world, because you're going to elevate the world, because you're standing above the world. That's Chassidim. Rosh Chodesh Kislev goes together with the Kinnas HaShluchim. This week was every year the week of Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the Kinnas HaShluchim. The Kinnas HaShluchim is the Kinnas of Rativ and development, saving the world. The Frierdiker Rebbe was in jail, right? A number of times. But there's a few one of the famous stories, the Frierdiker Rebbe was in jail. Frierdiker Rebbe was in jail. His life was in danger. It was like a very... The interrogators were... yeah. And you're there, either you'll be afraid, it's not a game, yeah? What did the Frierdiker Rebbe do? He was in jail. They were like... He said, I want to tell you a story. So the interrogator said, do you know where you are? Be quiet and answer the questions. The Frierdiker Rebbe said, wenn ich erzähle am meisten viele dem Misnagdim herzu. And he went on and he said this, he ignored them and he said the story. A whole story, that's a story for itself, it's a story. He said, when I tell a story, even the Misnagdim listen. The extension is, for sure, the Yevsexias, the Russian interrogator, Jewish, because even the Misnagdim, he said the Misnagdim, if the Misnagdim listen to something, that's the ultimate. That's what comes out. He said, this is what he said in the Russian prison, in the interrogation, in the most harsh circumstances ever in his life. The Misnagdim are called Misnagdim because they don't like Chassidim. That's what a Misnagdim means. He doesn't like. That's where they get their name from. They chose it. Shlichas, the Shluchim, who came to Rativ in the Neshamas, who saved the souls, who went beyond Kedusha to save the world, inspired the praise and the admiration even of the Misnagdim. I saw this many times. Even the Misnagdim begrudgingly, they say, wow. They see what the Shluchim do. They say, wow. The Shluchim, that's the Rebbe's Mishtat. The Rosh Chodesh Kislev goes together with the Kinnas HaShluchim. That's the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, Kedusha, go take that Kedusha higher. Don't lig in the Welt. Don't run away from the world. Conquer the world. Sevet eich nishat, and you're not going to lose. You're going to become stronger, and you're going to take the Kairos, the Teyu that are in the world, and bring them to go be Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu. L'chaim l'bracha. Te ya 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 So we're Farbrengen already for an hour, 2 hours. But we have to come to the Rebbe Izgezunt. How do we come to the Rebbe Izgezunt? How do we come to the Rebbe Izgezunt? That's the Chodesh Kislev. What's the ultimate, what's the climax of Chodesh Kislev? We could Farbrengen, we could dance, we could sing. The climax is, the ultimate is that our mindset has to change. That the Rebbe is gesund, that the falseness, that the cheshach, that the darkness is not what plays a part in our mindset. What's our mindset is the emes. Abisal emes, asach emes. What does it mean that how do we get to that bridge? How do we get to the Rebbe is gesund? How do we get to the Rebbe is gesund? How do we get, Chassid Rosh Chodesh Kislev has to Farbrengen and figure out what did we learn from the Rebbe? What do we learn from the Rebbe? The Rebbe teaches us light. The Rebbe's inyan is light. The Rebbe's inyan is illumination to get above and beyond the darkness of the world. Where do we go from here? How do we get to the Rebbe is gesund that we shouldn't see the world? We should see Elikos. We should see the reality that the Rebbe wants us to see in the world. When the Rebbe looks at the world, so the Rebbe sees a vehicle for Elikos, a vehicle for godliness, a vehicle for Atzmas. How do we get there? How do we cross that bridge? We're still in our own world. There was once a Bacher who was learning in a yeshiva in an out-of-town yeshiva. I guess Morristown is also out-of-town yeshiva. But Morristown is out-of-town. Somuch v'nira. And this was out-of-town, also close, but a little further than Morristown, from New York. A little outer of town. And the Bacher was a Bacher in Zal, Shlichus, and he had a relative in yeshiva was. And he used to eat Shabbos by his relative. His relative was a very chassid, a real big chassid. And he used to eat by his relative. Shabbos, he used to come to his relative's house, Shabbos B'Geyos. And his relative would tell him, make Kiddush, don't wait for me. The relative was a Ovid. You know what an Ovid is?
Davens for a long time.
What?
Davens for a long time.
Daven for a long, anyway, everyone could daven for a long time. Ovid is someone who works. We work. Ovid, it says Ovid is to work, to break through the concealment of our guvna for Shabbahamas, to connect to our neshama. Everyone has to be a little bit of a Ovid. This chassid was also this chassid davened long. You're right. I'm just driving. He davened long, davened many hours. He finished late davening every Shabbos. And he would tell his relative, he'd tell the Bacher, don't wait for me, just daven, just make Kiddush. But the Bacher would notice something very strange. So the guy davened long. So how did he daven long? So he finished davening 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, yeah? The Bacher came home from yeshiva, came to the house from yeshiva, and made Kiddush. The chassid didn't make Kiddush. It wasn't he was making Kiddush late. He was finished davening already. Good, he finished 1 and 1:30. He was going here, he was going there, he took a sefer, he learned the sikh, he didn't make Kiddush, he made Kiddush like after 3. Every week. It's like, it wasn't that you could tell, like, what's wrong? The Bacher was, he said, don't worry, you just make Kiddush, you don't have to wait for me. But the Bacher was why is he not making Kiddush? So he asked him, finally his relative, the chassid, tells him, he says, the Rebbe, this was in the noons. In those years, the Rebbe Farbrengen every Shabbos. And the Rebbe used Farbrengen at that time, that kufa, in that era, finish at about 3 o'clock on Shabbos. The person who's in this out-of-town city, he was on Shlichus, the relative, the older chassid was on Shlichus there. He doesn't know when but he knew from the usual. He said, I know the Rebbe usually Farbrengen till 3 o'clock. I don't make Kiddush till, according to this Hashara, till the Rebbe is usually finished this Farbrengen. Till the Rebbe's usually finished this Farbrengen. So he like dug it out of him. He would make Kiddush after 3 every Shabbos. If it was before, because it was after, he doesn't know, because he's there. It wasn't a Baal Kiddush, but he tried to live with the Rebbe. A chassid has to try to live with the Rebbe. To go along, the Rebbe's taking us. We're on the Rebbe's train. The Rebbe's taking us to deeper understanding, a deeper appreciation of Elokus, a deeper appreciation of Einid Muvadei. The Rebbe gives us a Farbrengen, a Sicha, a Maimer, a Miftzah. The Rebbe is lifting us. He's pulling us out of our mud, pulling us out of our complacency, pulling us out of our darkness. But every chassid has to decide, I'm waiting for the Rebbe. I'm going along with the Rebbe. This Yid was living in the area. I saw that he waited Shabbos after Shabbos. There was no fanfare. There was no article about him. Nobody knows about it till today. I was there in that city, and the Bacher was learning by me, and he told me the story about his relative. I don't know if anyone else knows about it. He did it without any... He gave up a little bit of himself to go along with the Rebbe, to live with the Rebbe. Rosh Chodesh Kislev, when we're celebrating the Rebbe, everyone has to figure out, how do I go along with the Rebbe? Don't leave the Rebbe. Go along with the Rebbe. Don't be left behind. What is the Rebbe teaching me today? How do I pull myself out of my blood, out of my mud, and tune into the Rebbe? There was a Rishimis. The early Rishima, when they printed the letters of the Rebbe, there was a letter that the Rebbe wrote to the Friedrich Rebbe, in which the Rebbe writes a question. In Lubavitch, they scoffed always at Moifsim, miracles. Lubavitch, they always said Lubavitch is Pnimius. Pnimius means think, learn, understand, delve, understand with your intellect, a seichel, einid muvade. A moifis, miracle, wonders, that's chitzenius, that's superficial. Siddim used to say, Oises umeifsim ba'admas b'nei cham. Or they said, Oises umeifsim l'parei. Two lines from davening that they used to use to make fun of all the meifsim. What's a meifis? Is that pnimius? Is that your neshama? That's chitzenius. So the Rebbe wrote a letter to the Friedrich Rebbe. And in the letter, the Rebbe questions this whole premise. The Rebbe says, I understand, the meifsim is chitzenius. A maimer chassidus, an understanding, intellectually understanding an idea, is pnimius. But the Rebbe said there's people who are in the blotter. You know what the blotter is? There's people who are sinking in the mud. And when they see a meifes, they see l'mayla min hateva, they see the supernatural, they get pulled out of their mud. That's what the generation needs. The Rebbe questioned the Friedrich Rebbe, why are we rejecting meifsim? Look at the effect it has. Later on, they'll be pulled out of their mud. They'll be able to learn Avodat Chassidus. I was a bacher. I was in a camp. I was a counselor, whatever. And someone came to me and she told me a story. Rabbi Lubavitch was there in that city. He tells me a story. He says there was once a mule that was. Mules are known to be stubborn, right? So this mule was stubborn. It stopped in the middle of the street. It didn't want to go. What do you do if the mule stops in the middle of the street? The problem is the owner of the mule said, my mule is a special mule. I never hit him. I only talk to him. Yeah, I don't hit him. I talk. I convince him. I explain to him. I argue. So I'm going to convince him to move. Anyone else wants to help me convince, but no hitting. Only with talking. In the meantime, there's a traffic jam. All the way back 5 blocks. And he's only talking. Finally, one guy comes to him. He says, I'll talk to your mule. I'll convince him with talking. So, doesn't take you to talk to him. The guy goes over to the mule. He takes a big baseball bat and he whacks the mule on the back. And the mule runs and the whole street clears up. But the guy goes screaming at him. He says, we said only talking. He says, I talk, but I had to first hit him that he should listen to me. So the Rebbe said, Chassidus speaks to the neshama, speaks to the seichel, allows us to grasp and to comprehend with our seichel, ain't muvade. But sometimes we need a whack to be able to listen to what it says in the Maimer Chassidus. We need a meifus to pull us out of our stupidity, out of our mud, so that we should hear, then we'll learn chassid, then we'll take it with a pnimius. There's a Farbrengen. But my brother has to go give the Bachurim a whack over the head. They should come to the Farbrengen. If they come to the Farbrengen, they'll listen. Maybe they'll hear something, maybe not. But first you have to get them to come there, right? The Rebbe writes to the Rebbe that you need the meifus to pull a guy out of the mud. Then once he's out of the mud, then give him pnimius. Then he should be captured. He should be convinced. He should be transformed with a vart chassidus. But get him to the vart chassidus. That you see, why are we so rejecting meifus? That's what the Rebbe writes to the Friedrich. I don't think we know what the Friedrich Rebbe responded. We have the letters of the Rebbe. I don't think we have the letter of the Friedrich Rebbe. What the Friedrich Rebbe answered. What? Yeah, they had the letter. What was the answer? He didn't accept the argument. The Rebbe seemingly stayed with his position. And the Rebbe's Nesias, by the Rebbe we saw meifsim more than you ever saw in all the years. By the Rebbe Marash was a lot of meifsim, and nevertheless, I don't think any Rebbe had meifsim. By the Rebbe, till today, every day is revealed new meifsim and new meifsim ad blidai, that there was never so many meifsim that the Rebbe. I want to tell you a story. The Satmar Rebbe once said, you can't believe all the stories of the Baal Shem Tov. You have to believe that they could have happened. You can't believe all the stories of the Baal Shem Tov. He said, because look, there's so many stories. The Baal Shem Tov didn't live so long. He didn't have so many Matzah Shabboses. You hear? Listen carefully. That's what the Satmar Rebbe said. Now I want to tell you a word from a Farbrengen of the Rebbe. The Rebbe once said, every story that was told to us has a lesson in Avodas Hashem. Said the Rebbe, how do we know every story has a lesson in Avodas Hashem? Said, you think about it. It's the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov means his whole life was a Baal Shemska life. Every moment of his life was a Meilam and a Teva. It was all supernatural. It was all miraculous. It was full of miracles. All the stories that we know, it doesn't cover his whole life. Where's all the rest of the stories? Must be we heard these stories because these stories have a lesson for us. Because there's so many more stories, has to be that we didn't hear. You hear? Two opposite looks. Did you get that or not? The Rebbe, that the Rebbe said about the Baal Shem Tov was full. They had to, this we saw begilui, bemuchash, tangibly, clearly by the Rebbe. The Rebbe, on a regular Sunday, was hundreds of stories, week after week, besides the rest of the stories in the middle of the week. Stories that till today there's coming as many stories as we think we know. So many stories. There comes more stories. They print them, they video them, every moment was L'maylam and Ateva. But L'maylam and Ateva was by all of the Rabbi. Every moment by the Rebbe was L'maylam and Ateva begili in a way that ultimately we see it. We know about it. We learn. He shared it with us. He showed it to us. The Rebbe followed seemingly what he wrote to the Friedrich Rebbe, that he uses this tool, these wonders, these miracles, to pull us out of our mud, to pull us out of our complacency, to whack us on the back with the stick that we should hear of our tzitzis. So we have to know every story. Every Farbrengen, you hear stories of the Rebbe, stories. You read us in the articles that come out, you read a story of the Rebbe, there's stories of the Rebbe. Every week there's new video stories of the Rebbe. You have phones, unfortunately we all have phones, but at least you have a phone, so you go and you see a video, encounters, this and that, stories of the Rebbe. Every story is meant to be a whack at the back. Every story is meant to be okay. So now stop being sukkot in yourself. Stop being sukkot in your world, in your cheshach. Hear Avad Chassidus. Hear a kernel of truth. Relate to truth. Listen to truth. Listen and understand with your seichel to pnimius. The mephis is the preparation. Hear the light, the illumination that the Rebbe gives us to understand, to comprehend, to grasp with your intellect, with your seichel, that avaya, emes avaya le'elam, that the truth is that the world is not a world, but ain't muvadeh. L'chaim l'bracha.
This pocket still make it check 3?
This? I put one, but it doesn't taste it. I put salt, it doesn't taste salt.
Oh, you want to say you have a Scott?
Ain't nothing mizvada, yes, it's the heart of the
Chaim Ubracha. Oh, stop with this. We should all stop with the shtusim. We have to not stop with the shtusim. We have to switch over the shtus de l'uma zeh and shtus de kedusha. Shtus de kedusha is needed. Shtus de l'uma zeh is transformed. Change over. How do we get there? What? Same thing. Some point of view. Brilliant discussion. Sadna the Arba Chadu.
Second screen, watch the Farbrengen screen.
There's two things.
Once we come close, we're gonna follow.
It's HD.
It's HD.
There's two things, Bachurim. There's one thing, first of all, I just want to say, because I see guys are coming and going, coming and going. Because then, as a result, whoever is going has to bench. Just, whoever wants to koch sich in this hour, it's bench. So someone who's leaving has to bench. By us, by our Farbrengen, at these times we bench and then we should win, because I have the same problem with Bachurim. They leave, they have to bench. Right? Whatever. Just, the second thing is, so what do we do about this? How do we cross this bridge from our shtusim, like you said, from our shtus d'lumazeh? What's shtus d'lumazeh? And we're caught up in a world where our reality is a lamhazeh, where our reality is the darkness. The Rebbe is here to change that. The Rebbe is giving us everything, and we're still caught up. How do we get out of it? So I told you there was this chassid in that city in the Ari Asada. How did he get? He went with the Rebbe. He made Kiddush. It's a technical, superficial even, chitzonistic example, but because he didn't want to be separated. He made Kiddush. He wanted to be with the Rebbe's Farbrengen. Everyone can find means. Take out of Rosh Chodesh Kislev to go with the Rebbe. And I want to give you a few examples. A lot of ways in which the Rebbe illuminated our generation with a Shivas Hayam, with a light that never existed before. And we have to be able to tap in somewhat to each one of them. I don't know the order, but one of the first things, what does a chassid have to tune into the Rebbe's Torah? What do we have? What is the vehicle that the Rebbe communicated that to us? Is Likutei Sichos. We have 39 volumes of Likutei Sichos, right? Give or take, I don't know. 39 volumes of Likutei Sichos. Every week is Sicha after Sicha that are revolutionary, that change our way of thinking in Torah, in the world, in Yiddishkeit, in Neshama, that transport us to a different world. How much, I don't know, I'm talking to you guys, I'm asking, how much focus, effort, time on a weekly basis do we spend on really learning the Rebbe's Sichos? And learning, taking a few Sichos and learning them and understanding them and grasping them and being a part of this revolution. You know, I want to tell you a story. There was a Yid, his name was Gershom Ber Jacobson. Gershom Ber Jacobson was the editor-in-chief of the Allgemeine Journal. And he was a Yid who had amazingly close kiruvim from the Rebbe. The Rebbe did missions through him, shlichus, tremendous kiruvim he had from the Rebbe. He had an open door by the Rebbe. Today, who's Gershom Ber Jacobson? Yossi Jacobson's father. But once upon a time, Yossi Jacobson was Gershom Ber Jacobson's son. Whatever, but so Gershom Jacobson. Gershom Jacobson, doctor. He once told the Rebbe that everything he did, he consulted, he told the Rebbe. He told the Rebbe he's taking a trip to Eretz Yisrael. So the Rebbe said, he said he's going for 2 weeks to Eretz Yisrael. So the Rebbe said, you're going to Eretz Yisrael. Try to be 1 week in Yerushalayim, 1 week in Bnei Brak, and 1 week in Kfar Chabad. One Shabbos in Yerushalayim, 1 Shabbos in Bnei Brak, 1 Shabbos in Kfar Chabad. But it's still more than 2 weeks. 2 weeks never have 3 Shabbos, unless it's like with pi by the 2 times the divide. But normally, whatever, it's a very complicated equation. So he's changed his ticket, and he's going to do the shlichus of the Rebbe. So he went the first Shabbos to Yerushalayim. In Yerushalayim, he saw Yerushalayim Yidden with the Shrine Malach. Yerushalayim, and they got up in the morning and they davened. And after the davening, they ate the challah, the meal. And after the meal, it's still early in the day because they went for a walk with their. The husband is in the front of the block, the wife is in the back of the block or something. They went for a walk, Shabbos, Einik Shabbos, beautiful, walking with their hands behind their backs and their streimels on their heads and their becks just flowing in the wind. And it's amazing, mamish, like atzmas. Are you laughing? Listen. The second Shabbos. Oh, okay, fine. The second Shabbos, he went to Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak. There's a lot of Bnei Torah. And we passed by the porches. People were sitting on their porches and they were learning Torah, learning Rambam, and they were eating sunflower seeds. Because they like sunflower seeds very much. Alter Rebbe doesn't allow to open sunflower, but they didn't know about Alter Rebbe. They were eating and they were learning and eating the sunflower seeds. Called Knacken Samishkis. Knacken Samishkis. Little clack, eating this stuff. And they were having the enjoyment of the k'tzais, of the sunflower seeds, and mixing them together. They didn't know which time. They were learning. Einik Shabbos. That's their Einik Shabbos. And the third week he was in Kfar Chabad. And in Kfar Chabad, it was the Chassidim. They davened, after davening, they had a Farbrengen. They said L'chaim. They said L'chaim, and they Farbrengen. They said L'chaim. These guys are finished already. All their sunflower seeds, they're finished their work. These guys are Farbrengen. They're saying L'chaim. Some guys never ended up going home. Some of the in the light. They ended up under the table. They're Farbrengen. The Rebbe was against that. He said, you have to go home, but they were searching, they were seeking, they were trying to get out of themselves. A Farbrengen. You have to know what a Farbrengen is. You have to Farbrengen about what a Farbrengen is. But listen to the story. So he came back after the 3 Shabbosim, 2 weeks, 3 Shabbosim, more or less, and he came to the Rebbe. And he had an open door, he had a minute, unbelievable, a lot of stories with him, unbelievable things that the Rebbe, like, the way the Rebbe spoke to him, unbelievable. So he went back, but this story was, he went back and he said to the Rebbe, I gave the Rebbe a report. I went through Shalim, I started to take my walks, I went to Bnei Brak, I started the learning, and then in Kfar Chabad they had a Farbrengen. So he said the Rebbe enjoyed it very much, what he said. And the Rebbe said, yeah, the Rebbe said, nicht von spazieren und knacken Samischkes machen a revolution. He said, by taking walks and eating sunflower seeds, that's not how you make a revolution. They said, yeah, they're doing a mitzvah, they're enjoying the Shabbos, v'karasal Shabbos, einig Shabbos. The revolution, the ones who are turning things over, they're trying to get out, they're trying to break through. That's the Chassidim in Kfar Chabad. This was his story that he said. So I have a brother in California, in downtown Los Angeles, by USC, in the University of Southern California, downtown Los Angeles. And he's a shliach there on campus. And he told me the story, that's where I heard the story from. And he told me in his Chabad as a student. So students are like Bachurim. And Bachurim are like students. So that's the problem with Rosh Hashivas and of campus shluchim. You both have to deal with students and Bachurim. So the students, always you have one student that he knows everything that you're going to tell him. He knows better than you. And he's cynical and he laughs and he doesn't believe and he's a good student. But he's there for every meal and he fresses up all your food, but then he just breaks everything away with some cynical comments and some he's he's like the nightmare of either the Rosh Hashivas or the campus shluchim, because they have their form, they have their reincarnation in the yeshivas and whatever. So he said he had a guy like that, and the guy, like, he couldn't make any headway with him. He just, everything was, One Friday night, he has a meal, and everyone's there, and this guy's there also for the meal. And he says this story. My brother said this story. And he says that student who was his, after the story, he had a transformation. He became his biggest supporter. He went to him afterwards. He went to my brother. He said, this story changed my life. He said, I realized that the Rebbe is not just making another, it's not just another organization where here they get your checkbooks and they get your pledges of loyalty, who knows what else. He said, the Rebbe is making a revolution. All these Chabad houses, all these yeshivas, all these stuff, it's all part of the revolution. The Rebbe is here to change the world. And the Rebbe gave each of us the schus that we should play a part in the revolution, that we should be part of it, help change the world. And that realization changed his whole attitude and his whole approach and his whole yachas, his whole relationship. It's a revolution. It's not the cynical look that he had on it. He wants to be a part of it. He wants to be a supporter, which he became from that. The Rebbe is here to make a revolution, to turn over darkness to light, turn over worldliness to godliness. I just want to stick in another story before I continue. There was a chassid, a shliach from Israel. And he went to Russia, traveled to Russia. He had this mission, self-proclaimed mission. He wanted to get the documents of the interrogation of Reb Leivik, the Rebbe's father. He wanted to see them, wanted to get them, wanted to publicize them. Where's he going to get them from? From the KGB. So he set up a meeting. He went to Russia. He traveled to Russia. This wasn't when you could already go to Russia, and he didn't have to be afraid of the KGB. And he made a meeting with a very high, top KGB officer. And he was able to have chutzpah, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. Then it was. He comes into the guy and he gives him a gift, a book, all about Lubavitch's work in Russia. Lubavitch, Borussia, Savitas. And he talks to him. He says, he finishes telling him who he is. And the KGB guy sits back in his chair. He says, yeah. He says, I know all about Lubavitch. He says, I know all about 770 Eastern Parkway. He says, in fact, I was there myself. He says, I was there in official business. I was there in official business. And I'll tell you, he says, at first we were shocked. He says, this is Rabbi Schneerson. We know Rabbi Schneerson. We know the KGB Rabbi Schneerson. And we know he's the world leader, world Lubavitch. He says, Rabbi Schneerson, his headquarters is in a basement. In a basement. He said, I was there. He says, after the prayers, they sit on wooden tables and they ate herring and nothing. This is the worldwide headquarters of the Lubavitch movement. So what's going on over here? He said, but I realized that this was just a confirmation of what we always knew. He said, Lubavitch, we knew always deep down they're a revolution. And every revolution starts in a basement. So the Rebbe is making a revolution. The Rebbe wants to turn us over. He wants us to turn over the world. And to turn over the world, it's not enough to come to... No, we have to make a change. Rosh Chodesh Kislev has to be a transformation. It has to be a step, a spike, a wheel in the revolution. Everyone has to figure out what's going to be different to me tomorrow. And the difference has to start from two things. We have to wake up in the morning and learn Chassidus. Because without that, we don't have a foundation. We have to... What? We have to wake up in the morning and learn Chassidus. Wake up in the morning and come on time to Seder and learn Chassidus. We have to learn it like it's something that we love, like it's something that we appreciate. I was telling you before about the Rebbe Sichas, that the Rebbe Sichas make a revolution. There was a, you know, they give out these publications, the Likras Shabbos. Likras Shabbos, they write over the Rebbe Sichas and they give it to the world. There was a Jew, his name, I forget his name right now. I heard his name, I don't remember it right now. There's a Jew, he was a Magashir in Mir in Borough Park. Chashavid, big Talmud Chacham. One of the Rosh Yeshivas there, they described him as. I have his name in the back of my head, it's not coming forward, but it doesn't matter. And the Bachurim went to him, and they gave him the Likras Shabbos, 1 week. Obviously, he was positively disposed towards Lubavitch, otherwise, but still, he was a Messiah. He takes the Likras Shabbos and he looked through. It was a Sicha on Parshas Yisrael. It was about Zachars, Yom Shabbos, about the two Zachars. A Sicha. The Zachars, the two Zachars. He reads the Sicha. And he had a Bacher like a Mishamish Bakodesh, like the Misnagim, like the Kav. He had his like his Gabbai, his Bacher. He says to his Bacher, take my credit card, my bank card, whatever it is. I want you to go buy me the whole set of Likutei Sichos. 39 chalaks. I want you to buy me the set of Likutei Sichos. The entire set of Likutei Sichos. But everyone was there surprised. The Lubavitcher Bachurim were the most surprised. Once again, this was the whole set of what happened to me. Everyone asked him, what's going on? What happened? He said, this sugya that the Rebbe is addressing, is dealing with, this Shabbos, the Zachar, this is a sugya, he said, I'm learning for, I forget if he said 6 years or 8 years. 6 or 8 years. That he's learning. He said, every year I can reach a deeper understanding, a deeper level, new chidushim in this sugya. And now I got the Rebbe Sicha. He said, I see where I finished after my 6 years or 8 years, I forget what it was. Where I finished, that's where the Rebbe starts. And he goes from there on. He says, if that's the case, I need the set of Likutei Sichos. Where I finish, that's where the Rebbe starts. That's the Likutei Sichos revolution. The Chassidus revolution is the same thing. You work, you struggle, whatever you could reach with your own strengths, with your own efforts. When that ends, that's where Chassidus starts and brings us to a whole entire new world. It's not just helping us, no, it's bringing us beyond that. The first step in the revolution is you gotta get up in the morning. Everyone gets up in the morning. I'm just talking like as if I'm talking to my boss. You have to get up in the morning on time and learn Chassidus, because that's our tool. That's our the instruction booklet. Learn and understand and delve into the Achdus Havaya the way it's taught us in Pnimis Atera. The first step is you got to wake up in time in the morning and learn Chassidus. The second step is that you have to daven. We, all of us, you have to daven. We can't. It's no such a thing that a Lubavitcher Bachurim jumps through davening. Everyone thinks, this is the style. That's what they do here, there. Yeah, it's an assembly. They daven fast. No such a thing. You have to daven every word and daven slow, and that the slower you daven, the more you're connecting yourself with Chassidus. The tool, the best tool to take Chassidus and smash it into your mindset and smash it into your heart and mind and make it a part of you is davening. Don't think that you see people running through the davening that's the minute Chassidim. The Rebbe wants a chassid to daven. There's a story, I made it I said it over many times, but not to you guys ever. It's a famous story. Now everyone knows the story because it came public, but it was only publicized in the last few years. I made it in Eretz Yisrael, in the yeshiva, there was an argument between the members of the Anhala of the yeshiva, Kfar Chabad. Once upon a time, people used to think that our generation is not about Avodas HaTefillah. There used to be such a concept, there used to be such a mindset. And the Rebbe negated that fully, especially in the famous Farbrengen Shabbos. So there became a new argument. They said, of course, our generation requires, demands, expects Avodas HaTefillah to work on davening. But they said, it's not for Bacher. Because a Bacher, in our generation, the Rebbe taught, it's Malchus, Kabbalah Seil. Our generation is the generation of Kabbalah Seil. First and foremost, the strongest foundation, the connection of a Bacher today is by doing what you have to do. If a Bacher davens long, it comes late to say there, right? Yeah, you ever had that? So therefore, some of the members of the house, we can't demand from Bachurim today to daven long because they're going to miss the main thing of today. And other guy said, "What do you mean? It's a basic part of Chassidus is daven long. You could never leave that out. And both arguments are very well based. They're strong arguments. Who could answer such a question? A Rebbe could answer such a question. Once a chassid went to Reb Hillel Parisha. I'm going to finish the story in a minute. But once a chassid went to Reb Hillel Parisha. Reb Hillel was Reb Hillel, the big chassid Reb Hillel. He went to Reb Hillel, and he told him there's a problem. His problem is when he learns chassidus before he davens, so he gets very inspired. He feels, But then when he davens, it's gewept. It died down. The chassidus is for the daven. Yeah. So what should he do? So Rabbi Hillel said, this is a question. This is a question. This is a question for a Rebbe. For such questions, that's why we have a Rebbe. I'm a chassid. Cool, the half a Rebbe. He said, this is a question for a Rebbe. So the chassid said to him, the Rebbe then was the Mittler Rebbe. He said, I can't go to the Mittler Rebbe, I can't go to Lubavitch, it's a whole big trip. It's not doable, not viable. So therefore I'm asking you, I need you to answer me again. So Rabbi Hillel said to him, so that means if you don't have a lulav, Mr. Neman Bezin, if you don't have a lulav, you take a broom, you can't go to the Rebbe. So it's a question for the Rebbe. But the chassid didn't give up. Then Rabbi Hillel answered him. He said, was art there as the davens fahren davening? What do you care that you're davening before you daven? You're getting inspired by this. That's davening is connecting with the Eibishter. You're connecting with the Eibishter before by your chassidus, not by that. But I'm bringing out to you, there's certain questions that they go to a Rebbe. They have to go to a Rebbe. So this question, the argument between the Hanholas, they have to go to a Rebbe. So one of the Rosh Hashivas, Rabbi Gruzman, Mulki Gruzman, he went to New York and he said he's going to bring the question to the Rebbe. Went into the Rebbe and said this. He tells the Rebbe there's an argument. Yeah, the whole argument. So the question seemingly is, do we say Avedis HaTfilah takes precedence, or say that Yeshiva takes precedence? I don't know what the Rebbe answered. I'll tell you what the Rebbe answered. I don't know how it answered the question. So the Rebbe said to him like this, very strange answer, but it's not a strange answer. But the Rebbe told him like this. The Rebbe said, Monday and Thursday, no, I'm sorry. It was like this. Shabbos, Friday, Monday and Thursday, Rosh Chodesh, Yom the Pagra, so the Rebbe gave a cheshbon somehow. Why, when, where? This is what the Rebbe said to him. I'm not going to mix into your fight over there, but even according to both sides, there's a bunch of things. But the Rebbe concluded Timchet Tmimim without davening by it's not a yeshiva, it's not Timchet Tmimim. The Rebbe said Timchet Tmimim is davening by Richas. How do you get around say the yeshiva? Well, you have Monday and Thursday and Friday and Shabbos and you have the Pagas and Chodesh and whatever the explanation. Monday and Thursday is also whatever's the explanation. There has to be davening in order to make a conduit, to make a tzina, to make a pipe, to make a pathway that whatever we learn in Chassidus should permeate us, should penetrate us, should make a change in us, that I should be able to live it, that comes in davening, and saying a word of davening and thinking about the Eibishter, and thinking about how whatever concept Chassidus applies to the word in davening. There's a famous story that the Friedrich Rebbe says that they met a chassid, and they saw a simple chassid, and he was davening barichas. And they asked him, "You're a simple chassid. You're not a masculine chassidus. You're not a big intellectual. How are you davening?" He said he went into Yechidus 40 years before for Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe said to him, "Zacher v'shamer b'dibur echad." The Rebbe said, Zacher, remember, v'shomer and protect, b'dibur, in every word of davening, echad ha'achtas havayim. With that, the Yechidus of the Alter Rebbe, he davened for 40 years. And more. Every word of davening portrays and reflects the echad. Take a concept of Chassidus that you learned and put it into the word of davening. The revolution has to come from davening. In order for it to change, in order for it to affect us, in order for it to be a part of us, you have to learn Chassidus with it. You have to understand it. You have to know the philosophy. You have to know the concept. You have to know what our official position is. But you have to daven. You have to sit and forget about everything and say a word and think about the word. So you don't have to say the whole davening Baveda. Say one page Baveda every day. Maybe expand it, but yeah, every chassid has to put effort into davening to make that illumination, to make ourselves kelim for the Rebbe lighting up our life, our neshama, connecting our neshama with our guf. We have to be kelim. We have to on ourselves bring the gili that we have in our chassidus into our beings. That happens with davening with Avodat Chassidus, davening with Aveda, davening with effort, with working. Don't run anywhere. It's not Chassidus to run by davening. It's Chassidus to go slow, to stop and focus and think and spend time and spend neshama and spend effort and spend pnimius and connect with the Eibishter. Atefet Tiferes. L'chaim u'bracha.
Yeah.
Bachurim, I see guys are coming and going. I want to give a suggestion. Let's bench. We can continue after benching, but I see some guys are benching and leaving. Some guys are Bachurim all over. Let's bench. Everyone will be benched. Then we can make a bracha. And we can Farbrengen. Give a chance to Chaim or bracha. Before benching comes the Chaim. After benching comes the Chaim. We need some benches. What? Yeah, you have a coin? A coin.
I don't think we have any more.
Farbrengen will continue. Or continue. Yes, just some people.
Alright, can I get one of those?
The commercial break.
Yeah, but we need but we need to make after party.
You like spicy?
Some people are gonna. The problem is some people are gonna bench with Found Missouri.
Nice event. There's a lot of cooperation costs to them in America. Yeah?
Too many.
Pretty sure it's much. Don't worry, it's okay.
This was last night.
Spy. They were Russian spying.
Hey.
Wash. Yeah, like straight out the cup. Huh?
That's fine. I didn't pour it into it or anything, and I didn't touch the cup with my finger.
Oh, like you poured it into a different cup and
Right.
then used that.
This was the cup I poured it in.
Oh, okay.
I used that to pour it.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been silly. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I
You're
figured
online.
it'd be okay.
Can you see me?
I can change it. There, now they see 3 open
If I'm
chairs
bringing
at
it
your shoulder. Oh, now I see it. All right.
Watch.
Who's your arm? There's 7 people watching.
Really? 7 people? 7 whole people are bothering watching? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol b'yadaynu baruch.
Дай помидоры, пожалуйста. Спасибо. Ой, спасибо. Русский лохайм. Лохайм, лохайм.
Будь здоров!
Будь здоров. Русский лохайм.
I think it's lined up up here.
What's there to see, right? Like, we were watching on Kislev. I think you can turn around if you want. I'm not, I won't object. Here, give it. Wait on Moshe. He's sitting there. It might be interesting to watch the live stream. It's all good. Every day, man. Wake up, go to bed, same time, every day.
I'm scared for you.
I'm good. I'm good for now.
You're good for now.
So fast.
I'll come first. So you never say when I was sleep all day and I wake up 5:30, I'm so strong. Now I get tired. So anyway, it's all good, but it seems like a lot of fun.
It's sleep isn't about time.
Yeah.